Hi, I'm Craig. That's my brother Brad. Welcome to Weekdays with Craig and Brad. It's episode 32. Hi,
Whoa.
Brad.
Hey,
We did
Craig, we
it.
made it. It's
Hey, we did.
episode 32.
We didn't get canceled or censored after last episode, but there's still time. There's still
Yes,
time.
yes. We're only 24 hours in since the last airing, and our last couple conversations have been I feel they've been productive.
I have really enjoyed talking about these things, and I think that I've really enjoyed the conversation in the chat. Usually at this time we usually sit down and we say it's the YouTube comment of the day, but here's the thing: I felt the conversation was so strong after yesterday's episode that I don't feel right about singling out a single comment because I'm very proud of the ongoing conversation in our comment section. So way to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. If I had a thing, I'd put the word civility over here and it'd be all sparkly or something like that. But really great civil discussions,
Uh-huh.
good comments, good perspectives, and thank you guys. Thanks for that. Thanks to everybody who's watching and taking part in the conversation.
Love it, love it. I encourage you guys to go watch the most recent stuff. If you guys haven't yet, there's a playlist at the end of the video. I encourage you guys to go on and check it out. Speaking of, one of the things that I'm kind of tinkering back and forth on is whether or not to release these videos at 9 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon. And the last two we've released at 9 in the morning have done actually very well. I've actually premiered them, but they've also been pretty hard topics. So I'm not quite sure if we're going to stick to the 9 a.m. or the 3 p.m. or what we're going to do. But either way, I've really enjoyed seeing the viewership grow slowly but steadily. And I feel like if we continue on, I think things are going to keep on going. So that's
Yeah.
exciting to see. Now, with that said, we are still hemorrhaging subscribers. So if you are new to the channel, please hit
I
the
noticed
subscribe
that.
button. Yeah. Like people, listen, when you when you touch on things that people don't
Yeah.
like to hear, they usually go like this, and they usually go like that, and they unsubscribe, and that's
Yeah.
fine. That's totally fine. It's called the churn, and we're totally cool with that. So,
Yeah.
but viewership is increasing. People are coming back. Watch time is increasing, which is great. So, congratulations, way to go, guys. Nice job.
Yeah, and full transparency, if you're upset because you're confused by the times that Craig is posting, I don't even know what time Craig's posting lately. Today I went on, I was getting ready to check our 3 o'clock post, and I was like, oh, it's already been going for a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
I wanted to see how it would do because the last two I've premiered at 9 a.m. They've done pretty well throughout the day. So
mhm,
I feel like our audience. I know according to the analytics that you guys are on pretty much starting at like 10 a.m. and through the workday, right? And you guys usually like log off YouTube around 6. So like having it go live at 3 doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Anyways,
mhm,
whatever. I don't
yeah.
know. Like
We're figuring
anybody
it out.
else.
We're only 32 episodes in. Perhaps by the time, if the great heavens allow, we'll have everything figured out by episode 33 or
Mm-mm.
episode 207
Who
or
knows?
episode 5006. I
Well,
don't know.
let's just worry about making it through this episode right here. How's that sound?
All right.
32. So listen, this is we found that you guys seem to enjoy the episodes where we talk about what's on our mind, and the funny stuff is great. Like I really enjoy talking about silly stuff. As a matter of fact, I think tomorrow's episode is going to be really great about
Hmm.
that. But with that said, I saw something in the news, and for those of you who don't know, Brad, tell them what your job is, what you do.
So for the last 20 years, actually 2021 is the 20th anniversary of since I started my music career. So I've been a singer-songwriter, recording artist, touring musician for 20 years of my life, basically straight right out of high school. Started playing the coffee shops, doing that whole thing. Made an album, started getting songs on different TV shows, building a name. This was back in the MySpace days. And I toured colleges. Some of you might know the band 5 Times August. That was me way back in the day. Still making music for 5 Times August. But the last 2 years, I've been doing kids music because I'm a dad now, and it sort of naturally transitioned. We talk about how we enjoy the silly shows. Well, I'm a silly guy naturally, and so I've channeled all that the last 2 years with the kids. So I wanted to share this. I have it right here. This is our CD right here. This is the Juicebox Jukebox. This is my kids music project. Spent the last 2 years of my life making this album. It's 14 songs with my kids. Your girls are on it. On a track, and we have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Juicebox Jukebox, and I've got videos for every song. I made those videos. I put my heart and soul into this project the last 2 years.
They're really good, by the way. Like,
thanks, Craig.
Like the production value on his music videos, they're like professional. This is something you'd pay somebody like $30,000 to $40,000 to go out and do.
Well, it's funny because like for years, like Mom and Kelly and even Holly, they'd say, you got to do kids music. You're so funny. And there's always this stipulation with kids music, like, I don't really want to be a children's music artist. But as I became a dad and I started seeing what kind of music was out there and kind of going, well, that's not very pleasing to a parent's ears or a teacher's ears. They got to listen to that all day. So I started writing kids music. I was like, I'm going to just do a handful of songs. I'll start with an ABC song. So I wrote a song called The ABCs of You. And it kind of set the tone for everything I wanted to do and everything that I would want to give to kids I want them to have an appreciation of music, not just have a song thrown at them, like the cleanup song or Baby Shark, where it's nothingness really. They have their own purpose, but like there's nothing to it, right? So I started making these videos, and the first one took off. Teachers started using it in their classrooms, and it's been doing really well. And I've done nothing but put my pure, honest, self into the videos and the songs, and it's taken care of itself in that respect. So yeah, this is the first one. It took me a month to do it because I didn't know how to animate videos. And then I started just doing it on my own, and I've taught myself. So that was the ABCs of You.
Yeah, and you've done really well, right? It's been really good. And
this last year was great, actually. One of the songs called "Thankful" was a top 5 children's in the children's charts on iTunes. We crossed over
732,000 views.
Yeah, so we've got like 1.5 million views altogether, and the channel's growing. It's getting discovered, and I'm really thankful for everybody who's no pun intended, but for all the teachers and parents that have been, allowing this music to be part of their soundtrack, their daily soundtrack, and so it's been very, very rewarding, to say the least.
I played this song on, I played Thankful for, my streams, actually, because I actually very much like the song by itself, right? And by the way, but we're going to get to the whole point of why we're telling you this here in a second. But the whole point of this is that, Brad makes good music. It's really fun to watch. It's fun to listen to. And if you have a kid, I know several people in my audience that I stream with, they have actually taken it, that are teachers. They've actually taken your music and brought it into their classrooms as well. So it's awesome. It's pretty great. So people really seem to enjoy it who have kids. If you have any kids, consider checking it out. It's all super family friendly, and it's about,
it's for the family. It's like a Pixar movie, right? Like everybody can get something out of it. I didn't just write it for a 3 or 4 year old. In fact, I wrote it for their parents, and it's not even for 4 to 8 year olds. Okay, there's your demographic, and their parents and their teachers.
Well, so you had a really, you released your first album this year, which people can buy, right? It's done pretty good, and you thought, hey, maybe this year I could potentially try to win a Grammy doing this, right?
Yeah, I went to when I was starting out, I had like 4 songs to the Juicebox name. I was invited to a luncheon, a children's recording artist luncheon 2 years ago. And I was like, well, I should go out there and make the effort to meet these people and get the lay of the land. And so met some people and they encouraged us at this lunch, and they were like, hey, the children's genre in the Grammys every year, it's one of the lower submitted albums or lower submitted genres. So if you submit your album, you know, there's a good chance it might win. Now, I've been a singer-songwriter for 20 years now of my life, and I thought, you know, like if I was going to do this, when my goals have changed quite a bit. When you're 18, you start out with a guitar. You're like, I'm gonna get the record deal, and I'm gonna get
Right.
my hit on the radio. And then you get into the real industry and the real world, and you're like, you know, like those things aren't really what it's about. And by the time I was like meeting with record labels and stuff, I was kind of like, you know, I'm kind of doing it on my own. So the industry's changed, my goals have changed. But when I came across this idea that, you know, I could submit a children's album to the Grammys, I was like, I'm going to make that a goal. I wrote it down, and I had a list of goals for 2020. I had 17 things written on it. I crossed out 15 of them last year.
Cool.
And one of them was submit to the Grammys and win. And that was kind of just a goal, you know, like what a great sort of bookend to 20 years. I was looking on to 2021 going, you know, right about that time, like they always say it takes like 10 to 20 years to become an overnight success. It'd just be really nice to win a Grammy and then be able to say that for the rest of my career, or even just be nominated, right? They always say like, oh, it's just an honor to be nominated. You can really use that in this industry to move yourself forward. So to be able to say, oh, I'm a nominated, you know, Grammy nominated artist would have been really valuable. Now, if I had actually won, I would have given that statue. My vision was like, we talk about our parents and how much they've supported us over the years in our dreams and stuff. I want to just sort of give that Grammy to mom and dad and say, you know, thanks for always being there. You know, like this is for you. You guys have always been there. So I had this whole little like kind of like dream kind of going up.
Your vision.
But yeah, it was my vision. And that's what you sort of do when you make lists and vision boards. You just sort of put it out there in the ether and you hope it comes true. So yeah.
So you wanted to win a Grammy this year, and it's not, you know, I think the thing that I didn't know that the way the Grammys work, it's not like they come out and find you, right?
Right.
You go, like, explain the process of going in to be nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah. So I'd never been through this process, and you know, it wasn't the end goal because I was like, you know, my end goal of my career isn't to be the Grammy artist. I just thought, oh, this would be something to go for. I'm going to go for it. And so I didn't know what to do. You have to know somebody. You have to know a Grammy member to submit your information, to submit your album. And so I had a friend that mixed the album, and he happened to be a Grammy member, helped me submit it.
What does that mean? What's a Grammy member? What does that mean?
So Grammy members are people across the industry. They're peers in the industry. They're producers, mixers, recording artists, performers, all different backgrounds. And they're just members. They're members of the Recording Academy. So these are the people that vote, that do the legitimate voting.
Okay, and these are people who are like, they champion you. You know, you are their tribute, or they're your tribute, right? You know, that is that the proper word? You know,
well, so there's three rounds that most people don't know about because everybody just sees what's on TV, right? So the first round is somebody submits you or you submit yourself, right? Your album that you released. If they fit into the certain guidelines of the year, you can submit it. Anybody can, as long as they've got the connection or as long as they're a member. And so I happened to know, so this was the first time in my life I you know, was like, hey, you know, would you help me do this? He was kind enough to help set it up, asked me a ton of questions, submitted it. And that's the first round. So the first round is just everybody submits. The second round is this list is sent to all the Grammy voting members. It's just a big long list with links to where you can listen to it, a little bit about the album, maybe the album artwork. I didn't get to see the back end side of that, so I'm not quite sure. I saw a screenshot he sent me to let me know that I was in there. So that's the second round. Now, after all the voting occurs, then they have the nominations announcements. That's the 5 that you're going to see nominated on TV when they stand at the podium and they say the nominees are. So they do this announcement for the industry they did it online this year. Usually, I don't know, they have an event for it, but this year they did it online. So I tuned in with the kids and I was like, look, like we'll see if we hear our name for the children's genre category. So we sat and we watched it, and finally they get to the children's genre. They announced the 5 winners and
five nominees.
Or sorry, 5 nominees. They're all winners in my mind. But no juice box jukebox. So it's kind of like, well, you know what? That's okay. Still proud of what we've done. It's doing well. No big deal. So I kind of just moved on from it. And that's where I left it.
This is where the story gets a little crazy.
Yeah.
Like, because you had let it go. You're like, okay, well, it didn't work out this time. That's fine. Somebody's going to win it. It is what it is.
Yeah. It was kind of like, I crossed my fingers and was just like, hey, that would be great. That would be awesome. If not, I've been doing this 20 years. I'm not going to stop, So I think like 2 weeks go by and I'm not even thinking about it anymore. And I'm on Twitter and this message, this post pops up and I start reading it. I didn't even know who posted it. And the post says, to the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. So what has happened?
Is this the post right here that you
yeah, you can pull this up. I pulled this up. So after a week of soul-searching discussions with our Black, brown, and white peers and consultations with our families, we, the undersigned nominees in this category, have come to the conclusion that it's in the best interest of our genre for us to decline our nominations. We respectfully ask that our names be removed from final round ballots. So it goes on, and we'll get to discussing about it. So 3 of the 5 final nominees decided that they wanted to be removed from the ballot once the nominations were announced. And the reason for this is because all 5 nominees were white people. And I read this and I was like, oh my gosh. And it hit me. It just hurt really bad. Like, I had moved on, It's kind of like, I didn't win, on to the next thing. But then I read this and like, things don't usually bother me like the way this sort of hit me and bothered me. But I was like, excuse me? Like, you were nominated for an award by like industry-wide peers, like from all different backgrounds and everything. And
right.
So it struck me a little bit and I couldn't let it go. I was kind of like kept coming back to me. And I was like, I told Kelly about it. I was like, you'll never believe this, but like, I'm honestly glad I did not get nominated this year, because had I won and had that moment with my family and my kids and called mom, I would have gotten another phone call a few days later. Hey, we were thinking about it and we're a couple of the other nominees and everybody's white on the nominations and we're trying to band together. We want to get it pulled from, we want we don't want to be on the ballot anymore. And that would have just been like, what? Like, what do you,
Right.
so I'm kind of thankful because I didn't have to deal with that imbalance of emotions in a way. But I read this and I read through their post and they say, unfortunately, this year's slate of all white nominees, only one of whom is female, is not an aberration of children's music. In the past 10 years, only about 6% of the nominations acts have been Black-led or co-led, another 8% or so. They go on and on. This was where it really, really struck me. We take full responsibility for putting ourselves in the position we're in. We chose to submit and distribute our albums to voters. Even as we are aware of this category's past history of exclusion. We thought that this year, after recent national events, all hard work of the Family Music Forward Racial Justice Collective to bring attention to these issues, basically they submitted hoping they wouldn't win. And that's it really started twisting my mind. I was like, hold on. I just went through this. You guys took the time to submit, or somebody did it for you, but you still had to agree to it, knowing of a history of exclusion. Your perspective, your opinion is there's always been a history of exclusion. Now, mind you, the past 6 years, I believe, what's the stat? 3 out of the last 6 winners in this category were people of color and/or winners. So there's a lot of diversity in this genre. Now, the problem with the children's genre is that it is a vast, wide. It's every genre under the umbrella of children's music, right? So it's not just like there's a category for children's hip hop or a category for children's pop. It's all children's music, right? So it's a wide variety of there's a wide variety of music. It's just all under one umbrella. Now, what these guys are making the case for is that it's basically always a white guy with an acoustic guitar that is in the forefront of this genre, and they want to help remove that. Yeah.
Question: Are these white guys with acoustic guitars making saying this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just to be clear, the white guys with the acoustic guitars are complaining that the white guys with acoustic guitars are winning this.
Right.
Right.
And so they're kind of falling, but they're using the narrative of it's our, we've got this white privilege. We want to, align ourselves with people of color in this community. And I get it. Like that's a noble thing. You want to share other genres, other cultures, and that's important to do, I think, for children, to represent that for children. Now, I say do it with your music, right? When I make a song, like we put out a song called "The One and Only You." It was the last song that we put out last year. It was my responsibility.
You keep saying we, and it's really just you.
Well, we, my family, it's us. But and I partnered with a couple schools to make this video, and it's pictures. And I felt it was responsible to represent a wide variety of kids. The song is called "The One and Only You," right? So, there's not just one person in the world. There's so many kids. There's so many colors. There's so many ethnicities and backgrounds. Like, so it was important to me, right, to represent this and share it with other children. So that's where the responsibility lies, I think, for these guys. Now they're thinking they're making a statement here with we're hopeful that our statement can be a small part of helping heal some of the pain and anger amongst our peers, and that it will help bring us closer as a community. We don't pretend to have all the answers. Blah, blah, blah. It really hurt me. And so I sat down, I went to look on Facebook, and I was like, so what do people think of this? And the majority of people on their Facebook page were like, wow, guys, really great of you. I'm so proud of you. This is a big thing of you. And I noticed a trend in everybody posting is that everybody was a white middle class person. I was like, well, where's the diversity in these comments, right? And the diversity came when people of color were saying, why do I need your breadcrumb Grammy? Why would you do this? Who wants to win like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's almost insulting that they would do that. And it's like,
right,
if we're gonna win, let's win. Not because it's a handout. Right?
So that's where my brain started like spiraling out of control, because I was like, you guys took the opportunity away from three other people that could have potentially been the people that you want to align with right now, right? The next 3 people in the votes in that second round of voting could have been, a rap artist. It could have been a reggae artist. It could have been a jazz girl singer. We don't know now because you guys took the time to submit, and then you got nominated, and then you took that and you said, well, we don't really want it. Let's give it back. And
Right.
it just didn't sit well with me, because I don't look at the world like that. And it just didn't sit well. So I made this post, and I posted on their Facebook. I couldn't help myself, Craig. But
What did you do?
I know. I said, I'm just going to read it to you. Can I just read it to you?
Please.
Okay. I said, just so I understand, all three of you purposely took the time and effort to submit your music for Grammy consideration with the hopes that you wouldn't get nominated. Those actions literally took away and stole three other artists' chances of getting nominated, as I've been saying here. Possibly their first time, possibly artists of color. You stole that opportunity from them to come out on the other side as victors, only to offer it back to them. Your actions now create more problems than it solves. What are the Grammys to do? If they replace the three of you on the ballot with three other artists, do they choose those three based on the second round voting numbers, or do they listen to you and purposely seek out more diversity for the sake of diversity? And then it's like, well, what's the point of voting if we're just looking at color all of a sudden, right? Are those three nominees supposed to accept a hand-me-down nomination? Is that how you would want to win? Knowing it wasn't really yours to begin with. Like, had I won, or had I, been next in line or something like that, I wouldn't want it at this point. Who would want that? Right. So then I said, what if the next three nominations also happen to be white males? Do the Grammy board members just keep going down the line until they reach the desired level of diversity? And if so, what's the point of even voting every year? If
And
the Grammy,
what is the desired level? Who decides that?
right, these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently. I said, if the Grammys do nothing and you remain on the ballot and you still win, do you accept it? Are you going to give back your previous Grammy awards? So here's where the issue of privilege comes in here. Gotta take a breather because I get
Please.
worked up. So these guys have been, I think this is their fifth nomination. All three of these artists are coming from a Grammy winning privilege or Grammy nomination privilege at the minimum. And they use this, you can go to their websites and it'll say Grammy award winning or Grammy nominated. So, I went and I checked this out and I was like, now, wait a minute. I was like, are you going to stop using the Grammy award winning / nominated title to promote your music? You say there's a history of exclusion. If that's how you really feel, it only seems logical that you would stop associating with the Academy altogether. They mentioned we take full responsibility. There's been a history of exclusion. They knew about this, right?
And if they take full responsibility, then you're right. They should absolutely hand it all back. They're part of the problem.
Right. Yeah. So I said, if you're going to go through with something like this, you at least have to take responsibility at the very minimum to at least suggest who you think should replace your names on the ballot, and not after the fact, because they did that on their Facebook page. They were like, oh, and here's some people that we think that you should check out. And that bugged me too. And then they made a Spotify playlist that they thought it was called an I don't know, form of action or something like that. And it's like, fine, share that music with everybody, but you're not going to just end there, right? Like, that's not your end move, is it? Like, oh, I made a Spotify playlist. So that this, so, I kind of unloaded on Facebook, just sort of letting it go. I was like, you owe the Academy and everybody who entered an alternative. Let me see here. I'm losing my spot. I said, as a matter of fact, all three of you could have found other people, people of color or women artists to submit in your place at the very beginning of all of this. All three of you were nominated based on merit and talent by your peers, not a bunch of racists. If you only feel that way, or if you honestly feel that way, you should have never submitted in the first place, and you most definitely should disassociate yourself from the Recording Academy altogether until they meet your personal expectations. So I'll stop there. There's a little bit more, but it goes with the Martin Luther King quote where he said, "I look to a day when people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character." And I believe this goes with talent too. You know, this is what the Grammy Awards is supposed to be. Everybody, you know, you don't even know who you're really voting for. There's so many people on this list, right? That you get the list, you click and you listen and you go, I like that one. On to the next one. You know, how long are
Right.
people really diving into each one of these artists? You
Yeah,
know,
you're like
30
10,
seconds,
yeah,
right?
30 tops, right? You
Yeah.
know, if you're truly, you know, you probably get a cover art for your album, and then like, you know,
Right.
like 10 seconds tops, you know, like so.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I'm like, children don't care if you have a Grammy award. You know, they're not going to like, I was reading comments from parents that like, this was a great opportunity to talk to my kids. And I was like, what did you just teach your kids? You taught your kids that if they want to become an Olympic gold medalist, to go ahead and train, invest the years of your time and effort becoming one of the best, then go through the trials, you know, get into the Olympics, win your race, get the gold, stand on top with the other three winners, but then look around and ask yourself what color they are, right? And then if you don't see enough diversity or representation, take your medal off and give it to somebody else. You know, like it didn't, that's not how this works. This isn't even like a race issue to me. And maybe, you know, somebody has some other perspective, but when I know, and I've been in this industry for 20 years, how much diversity there is across the board, I don't think that this is a race issue. So
What was the quote from MLK again?
the quote was, I look to a day when people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Right. It seems like such a, you know, look, we're fortunate, right? Like that is, I say this all the time, and people who want to hear bad things, they hear bad things when I say, like, I don't look at people by their color, their
Mhm.
race, you know, their sex. I just look at them as humans, as people, right?
Yeah.
And some people will hear that and think horrifically bad things, right?
Yeah.
Probably half of America, right?
Mhm.
And that's mind-boggling to me, you know. Um, but it's a fascinating story, and it's one that's been covered, you know. It's been covered quite a bit, you know.
Mm.
Like I'm pull this up. I've the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stone covered it, you know,
Mhm.
and the crisis behind the all-white Grammy category, right?
Uh,
You know, it talks about Pierce Freeland here, and Pierce
mhm.
Freeland is a guy. I was reading this earlier. He is a guy out of North Carolina, and you know he produces kids music now. He started this year, and
Mhm.
um, you know he started producing music, and you know he talks about how Freeland talked to one of the guys that was in the, you know, when he got started, and you know Freeland wondered, you know, like you in his conversation he said that journalist, the other guy, one of the guys that stepped down, says that told him journalists don't cover the genre like they did 10 years ago. That's
Mhm.
what he told him. Journalists don't.
Mhm.
In Freeland said he wondered if it might be because children's music festivals tend to skew extremely, sometimes entirely white, and the media spotlight has fallen on white men strumming acoustic guitars. And then,
Mhm.
you know, Freeland says it's like being served a baked potato with fries and hash browns on the side. slight variations of the same dish. He says,
Oh,
meanwhile, 1, 2, 3 Andres is over there with their flavors. We got some Jamaican flavor. We got some hip hop. There's different elements and
yeah.
aspects that bring richness to the genre, but are being systematically excluded. I just find it fascinating. Like this statement here is fascinating. That if anybody else was to say that, that would be an incredibly racist statement. That would be
Right.
an incredibly. It's like being served baked potato with fries and hash browns on the side.
Right.
Slight variations of the same dish. You know,
Yeah.
like and
It
it's fascinating. We
the
live in fascinating
the
times.
thing is, like, I kind of glossed over this earlier. The children's genre is like every genre of
Right,
music,
right,
right?
right,
So you got to think about like the entire spectrum of what people enjoy, right? So if the majority, if the best-selling children's music, let's look at the best-selling children's music, right? Like Kids Bop, right? What
mm-hmm.
kind of music is that? You could classify it mainly as pop music, right?
Right, right.
Generally, everybody likes pop music, right? That's like an across the board. If you say, do you like pop music? Sure. Now, if you get more specific and you say, do you like reggae? Not everybody likes reggae. It's not their thing, right? But you've got reggae children's artists, you've got hip hop children's artists, you've got country children's artists, and all kinds of children's artists. So the ones that are going to rise in this genre naturally are going to be the basic genre of music, right? It's going to be probably the pop music, right?
Right. Well, yeah, it makes sense, right? I mean,
Right.
pop is the top 40 music. You know, that's what you
Right.
hear on
The-
top 40 stations. It's the top.
why do they save those genres for the end of the show at the Grammys, right?
Right.
Because those are the big genres. So to say, like, oh gosh, like, well, what's your music sound like? Should you be in there?
Right. Well, can we take a look at this really quick? I actually went to the Grammys.com and found the Grammy nominees
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
And I want to kind of show this to you real quick. These are the Grammy nominees. These are the 2 remaining nominees here. It
Hmm.
says for best children's music for
Oh, they
albums.
took them out.
Yes, for albums containing at least 51% playing time of new
Wow.
musical or spoken words recordings that are created and intended specifically for children, right? Now, these 3 they've been removed, right? So we
Wow.
have Joanna Leeds and Justin Roberts. So I
Hmm.
took the liberty of finding both Joanna Leeds,
Oh.
whose song is
Hmm.
actually featuring Lisa Loeb, a former Grammy nominee, right?
Hmm.
Possibly winner, right? We all know
Yeah.
who Lisa Loeb is. You say that was
Yeah.
good.
Craig
And
knows.
thanks that. And then we have Justin Roberts,
Yeah.
who just doing a quick skim here, is also appears to be a white male.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
these guys have put the magnifying glass. Like, I don't envy. You're right. I don't envy either of these guys. Right. Or well, this lady and this gentleman here. Right.
Like, yeah, what a position to put them in, right?
Right. Like
Like,
it's legitimately, as it's one of those things where, as some of the best ideas or some of the worst ideas started with good intentions, right?
yeah,
And I think that's what happened here. It's like, well, we have these good intentions, but we just didn't think through it at all to
yeah,
start. And by the way, sorry, Justin, and sorry, Joni. By the way, you guys are going to be up a creek without a paddle.
right. And when I was reading the comments on their Facebook, on the Okie Dokie Brothers Facebook, those are the guys that initiated this. I don't even think I've said their name so far, but
Mm-mm.
I was I was reading through the comments, and people were like, well, what about the other 2? I definitely won't be listening to them anymore,
Right.
And it's like, what a horrible thing. You don't know the circumstances. And it's just it's very frustrating, especially when you're trying to put good in the world. Like, one example that I've found in the last year, like this to me, right, is the best good that I can do with my abilities, my talent. I have received, I received last year a box with drawings and thank you notes this thick, which was the most amazing award I've ever had from kids that I went to their school. I performed for them, And every kid that was in the audience after I left took the time to write me a note and draw me a picture. And the school sent it to me. And I sat there, I went through each one. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And so when you try to do something good and then people start interjecting these things, like the purity of children's music is something that it's just supposed to be children's music. Do we have to go there? Do we have to?
Right.
And so like I received an email last year from uh somebody who had been watching one of my videos, and they said, hey, I noticed that it took about a minute and a half for a person of color's hand for that shade to show up in your video, and all the babies in your video were white. Well, full disclosure, the pictures of the babies in the video were my children, and sooner than a minute and a half, probably 20 seconds in, I have a spectrum, a rainbow of people cut out in that video, because it was important for me to, express that. And so I put a lot of myself into it, and people nitpick it and they don't have any, idea of the circumstances, missing context, as it would get flagged on Facebook,
Right.
And so people jump to conclusions, and then hate, jumps ahead, or judgment gets ahead of it. And then that's just what keeps happening. So it was weird to experience that, when
you're writing songs about happiness.
When you're writing songs where you're just like, I'm doing something good. I feel good about what I'm doing. I feel great about this. But then like, it's like, oh, the children's music industry is still an industry.
Right.
Like there's still people thinking about it. And so I'll just cap it off with this. So these guys posted this letter on December 3rd or so, I want to say, or maybe December 9th. It was. I had the dates written down. They did not post again until January 4th. They shared this NPR article about their story. And I was like, wait, you haven't said one thing? Like you laid it out for the world to sit there and have this conversation, but you stopped having the conversation the moment you started it, until you needed to share this public relations article about you. It's not even about the cause. This is about you. So that's my rant, Craig. What's going on? Can't we just all be happy?
No, we can't. We can't, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, if obviously this is a silly situation, but if you want to support Brad and Juicebox Jukebox, you can go over to YouTube and subscribe there, and go pick up the new album over at thejuiceboxjukebox.com. You can find that right down here. So so head on over there. Like I said, go listen to it. If you got kids, even if you don't, man, I think you'll enjoy it. It's pretty fun
stuff.
So.
It's been a lot. It's been really fun to make. It's some of the best stuff I think I've made, honestly, over the last 20 years. And
I agree.
It's a family album. I couldn't be more proud of it. So.
Well, look, that was almost 45 minutes, but you guys, I appreciate those who stuck through it. Hopefully you guys understood, it's a big deal to Brad. So hopefully it's a big deal to you guys as well. And so we wanted to kind of talk about that. It's been in the news the last few days, and Brad was, personally involved on the outskirts of it. So we thought we'd talk about it a little bit. So yeah, man. Cool. That was episode 32. Guys, thanks so much for sticking around and hanging out with us. Appreciate that. We'll be back tomorrow. It'll be a lot funnier, a lot more lighthearted. I'm going to be talking about David.
Let's do a fun one, Craig. Let's get back to funniness.
Yeah. All right, guys, go watch more episodes. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you subscribe. And if you really want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/CraigSkits. That'd be a great place to do it, man. I would really, really appreciate that. And we can get Brad a new webcam. That's the goal.
That's the big goal. Is that new webcam?
Want to get Brad a new webcam. He sounds good. Now we got to make him look good. So, all right, guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow. I don't know what time. It'll just turn on notifications for the channel, and that's the most important thing. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.